Colorado Springs man becomes fourth person to push a peanut up Pike's Peak with his nose.
He's the fourth man, you said?
He's the fourth man, yes.
I got a big nose. I don't even want to do that.
Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. I am John, and on my screen next to me is our good friend Tom, and right below us, as the foundation of all, is Brad. And we have figured out the secret to podcast success, and that is just to take, unannounced 5-6 weeks breaks at a time, right? And we've been gone for a while, and it's been good for me. I hope it's been a good time away for you guys, and I hope if you're a listener, a watcher, you don't say, "Oh, it was good for me not to see you guys either." But Tom, Brad, how you been, man? What's been going on?
First of all, during that time, I know you've been traveling, and Ellen and I went up to the Boston area, which was a first for me. She was actually born not far from Boston, but by the time she was 1.5, 2 years old, they had already moved out of that area. So it's not like she remembered anything about living in the New England area. But it was a great experience, and one of my actual bucket list things was to go to Fenway Park, which thanks to my cousin and her husband, Dana and Doug, got to check that off the bucket list. And I will say, for anybody who are baseball fans and wondering, it is a great experience to go to Fenway Park.
I think I saw your picture. Didn't you wear a Hooks jersey there?
Yeah, I did. I actually did.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Way to represent, man. I love it.
Well, and part of that, it's interesting. We're in Corpus Christi, and I'm a Hooks season ticket holder, and I've been going to Hooks games long before we moved to Corpus. And two of the players, one for Boston, one for the Oakland A's. I've seen both of them here at Whataburger Field, and they're pretty much, big names now. Ramon Laureano for the A's and JD Martinez for the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm. Well, good deal. I'm glad you got to go. That is one of those bucket lists.
So did they do this when they walked by you because you had your Hooks? You're going like,
that Hooks guy is here.
Yeah.
They didn't. They did not even acknowledge that I was there. So. Darn.
I mean, they didn't look at the upper deck seats, and where were
but
you at, Tom?
I actually, we were right. We were near the third base side. We were on the third base side near the dugout because
nice.
If it had been what I could have afforded, we would have been in the nosebleed seats. But my cousin's husband Doug has some connection and clout, so right. I can get them in good seats here in Whataburger Field, but anybody can do that. They're not expensive.
Brad, what you been up to, man?
Oh, not a whole lot and everything. Just finishing up spring season of Bible studies and closing down things and taking breaks and breathing and stuff, and then starting up with some conference stuff. I was asked to be a part of the candidacy mentoring group, and so I went to Candidacy Summit last week. And
they trust you with that?
They didn't really do a successful background check, so yeah. Tamara Straley asked me to do that, and I said sure. Actually, she asked me to do it last year, and I was going to be out of town and couldn't do it. And I said keep in mind for the future, and so she took me up on it, and that's good. So I was up in Kerrville, beautiful downtown Kerrville, or up on the hill, and for 3 days or 2.5 days there.
And good.
Then ran over to Houston and did a real quick meeting in Houston for some other stuff, and then came back home. So I've been traveling all week and looking forward to a week at home.
So I'm excited. Welcome home. Enjoy it. Yeah, we traveled as well. I didn't get to take any vacation throughout the year and decided, you know what, I'm gonna take all of it all at once. So I'd never done that before. That was a long time, but it was a good time, and
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to breathe?
So I actually last year I took 3 weeks off, which was a
Yeah.
first.
Uh-huh.
This year was 4 weeks. So
Right.
last year I learned it took me about the first week to say, to stop thinking and So this year I was better at it. So about day 2.5, I was like, what church? I don't got no church.
Yeah.
I was good, man. I was like putting my feet up, watching TV and just enjoying it all. My wife, she was still working. And so I asked her, I said, now look, if you find out I went to the movies by myself, like without you, would you think I was a jerk? And she said yes. So I didn't go to the movies by myself. But anyway, we had a good time, traveled to Tennessee, went to all 3 states of Tennessee, like you've told me before.
Yep.
We went all the way to Gatlinburg, which is a thing in and of itself. Oh my goodness. We drove through and one of my kids said, this is like driving through Six Flags of Texas.
It is. It really is. It's really wild.
I have not been there since like I was either late teens or early 20s, but I've never forgotten Gatlinburg. It was quite a different experience.
It's very weird.
It was wild. We stayed in Pigeon Forge.
Okay.
So that was a little more, a few more lanes to drive in, a little more room. Wanted to go to Dolly World, but I couldn't swing that this year, man. That's pretty expensive. But we did buy Dolly shirts.
Well, there you go, man. It's all that counts. Yeah.
Anyway, so it was good to be away, and now it's ready. I'm ready to kind of do nothing.
Yeah.
Tom knows what I'm talking about. That's a sermon yesterday.
Absolutely.
I told the church. Somebody asked me what new thing I was ready to do, and based on the story of Martha and Mary, I said nothing. But anyway, that's a sermon. You'll have to go listen for yourself. All right, guys, I got a couple stories. We'll see if we'll get to them. We want to get out here early because one of the 3 of us might have a lunch date, and so
Tom.
perfect lunch date. Tom, who? You guys like peanuts?
Peanuts.
Had peanuts last night at the ballpark, which is rare.
I don't like peanuts. Almond. I don't like the texture. Do you guys like hiking?
Hiking, yeah, sure.
Okay, so maybe you can combine the two, and if you could live into this title. Colorado Springs man becomes 4th person to push a peanut up Pikes Peak with his nose.
He's the 4th man, you said?
The 4th man, yes. Let's see. I got
a big nose. I don't even want to do that, man.
Bob Salem, 53, reached the top of Pikes Peak Friday morning. He broke the previous verified record for the feat, completing the arduous task in, can you guess how many days?
Oh, at least 6 weeks. I don't have any idea. 2 days.
The record was 8 days. Yeah. He beat it in 7 days.
Wow.
Goodness.
Of all the things I've wanted to do with my life, gentlemen.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of reflection time in that process. I'll say that.
Well, I'm going to be extra ugly judging here, right, for just a second and say when he gets to the pearly gates in St. Peter said, what'd you do with your life? And he's going to go, wait, I'm on page 412 of Guinness. Look, right here. This is it.
St. Peter, the record used to be 8 days, man.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
But I made it a more perfect number.
7, a holy
days,
number. That's right.
Salem said he did most of the pushing after dark.
Because people would make fun of him during the daylight.
Wait, what are you doing with your nose?
Get off the ground, dude. What are you doing?
He says, when I did it in the daylight and stuff, I had to stop every 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and take some pictures, talk to some people, and do all that kind of stuff. So it kind of dragged on the trip a little. Oh, and now I think he's bragging. I could have finished faster.
Right.
If it weren't for all the stops from all these other people. He estimates that he used peanut paparazzi. Yeah. He estimates that he used nearly 24 peanuts throughout the week. Some fell into cracks.
Wasn't one peanut that he pushed.
Wasn't one peanut because some fell into the cracks between rocks on the trail and he wasn't able to retrieve them. So,
so he pushed peanuts.
Peanuts, and he ended with 1, and so they gave him, because all this was a part of the where's it at Manitou Springs 150th celebration, and so that's how they celebrate 150 years up there. And our church is celebrating 150 years this year, and I'm staying away from peanuts.
There's a Zen question I have to ask. Did the peanut want to go up the hill?
Which of the 24 peanuts didn't really want to be there?
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, your next travel, your next hike, next time you eat a bag of peanuts, put it up to your nose and see what you can do with it. All right.
Oh man.
Here's another one.
I can just see being at Whataburger Field, pushing it all the way around the.
Around
that could be one of the new
what
games.
What are you doing?
One of the new games during the 6th inning or after the 6th inning.
I was gonna say I can be if I'm the first, I can get the Guinness Book of World Records for pushing a peanut around the Whataburger
Field.
There you go.
Make it a French fry.
They get nasty after a while, man. They smish up and they get dirt in. No, peanuts.
You're talking about putting your nose on the floor anyway. Does it matter?
I'm thinking, Whataburger Field, so it'd have to be Whataburger fries.
Yeah. All right, you guys are creative, smart individuals. If I told you there was a man who was swept out to sea from the Greek island of Cassandra, and then if I told you 10 days earlier, 2 boys lost the ball playing on the beach in Lemnos Island, what would you think would be the next part of the story?
Somehow the ball and the man are connected. So
yes,
Wilson!
yes, right. So this is a literal. Now this has a good news, bad news. I'll get to the bad news in a little bit. But the ball traveled 80 miles from the island towards mainland Greece. Miraculously, this man named Ivan, who was swept out to sea 10 days earlier, found the ball, and he managed to stay afloat for 18 hours before he was rescued from the sea.
Wow!
What are the
so
odds?
It's like a life preserver.
Yes, he says it wasn't fully inflated, but it was inflated enough, and it just gave him that rest, that he needed. I can't imagine.
Wow! Hanging on.
This is real life Wilson.
There you go.
Yeah.
The bad news is there was somebody else that was swept out to sea with them, and they haven't found that person yet.
There's only one ball. I'm sorry, that was really crude.
That was. I feel bad for laughing at that because
sorry.
what we're talking about is somebody.
I need to filter better.
I mean, that's a great joke.
Oh, but it's bad. I'm sorry. That was wrong. That was wrong on so many levels. Yeah.
All right. So all of this travel talk got me thinking. Have you guys heard of ethical travel?
As of this morning, when I was reading the article you sent us, yes, and I didn't even get to that far.
I sent this to you like days ago. You didn't do your homework.
Well, I read
We cram at the last minute.
The 6 steps, but I didn't read about the ethics of all of it.
Yeah, so I had never heard of that term, and I'm not saying it's like the next big wave. It is an interesting term. This is from Professor Hammond, Professor of Religion, Psychology, and Culture at beautiful Vanderbilt Divinity School, and he talks about ethical travel. And what he's talking about is, as people are traveling, there's this sort of almost innate sense that we have of wanting to travel, right? And he asked the questions: why do we travel in the first place? What is the allure of the open road? Do you guys like to be on the open road?
As long as there's nobody else there, yeah. It's all the other traffic that gets in the way.
Well, it's like, as long as it's not Austin,
Exactly.
between Austin and Dallas.
That road is never open, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's always under construction.
It's like driving in DC or LA. This is not driving. This is parking.
This is parking with a little bit of movement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've definitely done that on I-75 just south of Atlanta. We were fully stopped.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So he talks about in June of this year, he set off on a 10,650 mile 6-week motorcycle trip from Tennessee to Alaska. Can you imagine that?
No.
That's got to have some moments in it, right?
I hope that he stopped a lot.
I'm sure he did. 6 weeks, So anyway, he's talking about there are six stages of transformative travel. I mean, you don't want to just go travel and be like, ooh, I traveled, come back home and go straight to work. You want to make your travel mean something. And so if you guys, if you're listening and your family's getting ready to go on some trip, or you're thinking about going somewhere for the weekend, don't just go somewhere. Make it a transformative experience. So I'm going to offer the six stages, and you guys chime in to what you think about them. And the first stage of transformative travel is anticipating, right? You're making your plans where you want to go. And I'll chime in on this first, just because initially it looked like our family wasn't going to make a vacation trip. Car repairs just beat us this year. I mean, just one, and like not small ones either.
Yeah.
So it looked like we had nothing. We were going to, go to Odom for a vacation,
And packed lunches.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. No Whataburger.
No, peanut butter and bread. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it worked out that we were able to go. And when initially when it's like, oh, we're not good to go, and it's like, dang it, man, I really wanted to go somewhere. And then, no, we can make something happen. That anticipation really kicked in for me. I was like, okay, good. I don't even care where we're going at this point. I want to be away. So the anticipation of where you're going, of making the plans is he I don't know why, just the Dutch aptly call it voorpret, which literally means voorpret, the pleasure before, the anticipation, right? Travel begins long before your departure. You ever anticipated going somewhere?
All the time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
especially when you're packing, how cold is it going to be? How hot is it going to be? Do I need extra, and yeah, I mean, really, there's a lot of anticipation of that. We're going to stay at a hotel. Is there going to be a pool? Do I need a swimsuit?
You guys are thinking about this a lot more than I do.
We don't get out enough. We really just don't. Get enough.
My family did tease me because I brought a backpack. We were gone for a week and a half.
Out
of the way from the house. Yep. I brought like 2 pairs of shorts and 4 t-shirts, man.
There you go, man.
It just made it work.
That's right. That's right.
Sinky, you would be actually a good traveler in Russia, because I can remember when we would get on a train, the Americans would get on a train, we would have like 2 big suitcases, and they would have like an HEB grocery bag. Yeah. And we would be going for 3 days, and they would be going for the summer. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody Loves Raymond. You ever watch that show?
Oh yeah.
Love that show. One of my favorite episodes has to do with the luggage. If you can go look it up, go watch it. Anyway, so let's talk about anticipation. Let's talk about the second stage of transformative travel is the actual act of leaving.
Yeah.
Right. Getting in the car, and you got everything packed. And our family, right before I put it in reverse, my wife would say, all right, let's pray. So we pray, and then it's just all right, we're going. I reset the
tripodometer.
The tripodometer, yeah. And there's something kind of fun about that. Here we go, away we go, right?
How far are we going?
Yeah. And you have to sing, don't you? At least that one line of that song. It's probably the only line you know.
Holiday Road. Oh, sorry.
Oh, we're different movies. Okay.
So which song?
On the Road Again?
On the road again. Okay, yeah, okay. I was doing.
Where'd you go, Brad?
That's a good one too.
Both of you.
The Holiday Road. That's the one I sing.
That's a good one.
I was thinking 100 bottles of beer on the wall.
A million bottles of beer. If you're going to do it, it's going to be a long trip. It's a million bottles of beer on the wall.
Wow.
I was thinking those are the ones that got sung in our car.
So he did say, some travelers leave with excitement, while others experience hesitation or guilt before the relief and excitement of departure. Right? And I can see that. Some people are like, I need to stay home and get stuff done, or for whatever reason, right? So
as a pastor, the biggest struggle that I've always had leaving has always been about who am I leaving that's going to need pastoral care, and they're going to want to meet me. And that always weighs. That's that.
There it is. Yeah.
It's there. That hesitation of, And I'll be honest with you. I was in Romania a couple months ago, over April, the end of April, and I got 2 phone calls at like 2 a.m. in the morning their time, which is mid morning here, or early afternoon here, and they they were calling me to tell me that so and so is in the hospital, and I went, yeah, let me see who I can call and see if we can't get somebody to come visit. Why? Well, I'm in Romania right now, and it's 2 a.m. And they're going like, "Oh no, we didn't mean to call you that." You didn't know. Don't worry about it. I mean, you knew I was here, but you didn't know what time it was. So don't worry.
That's a real example, though, of having that sense of
I want to be there for them, and I can't. So that's why I asked earlier, how long does it take you to get down, so that not down depressed, but down off of the work stress and everything, to just relax on vacation.
Get off the job treadmill. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and this is going to sound corny, but for me, I decided I'm going to trust my people. Right. Tom was one of the ones that filled in for me for a Sunday. I'm going to trust that, if something goes weird in the worship service, he can take care of it. I'm going to trust that the people that I know that, make phone calls and everything, they're going to keep doing that, and they're going to keep visiting. And so I just decided, God, it's your church anyway. You better take care of it while I'm gone.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And so that actually kind of leads into the third stage, which is surrendering. He talks about travelers cannot control their journey. A flight is canceled, a vehicle breaks down, the weather report predicts sunshine, but it rains for days on end. To some extent, you have to surrender to the unknown. Yeah. Carry the white napkin of surrender. Just go with it.
I give. I quit. I don't know.
That's easier for somebody like me. I'm a very sort of go with the flow kind of person, but I can see how that's difficult for a lot of people. Like, everything's ruined now, right? Because of something got changed or whatever. You guys experience that? Who are you?
Well, I can only think of a couple of things that it just sucks. We were talking about turning an interstate into a parking lot, and I've experienced that. And the other thing, when you've got a 16-hour trip to begin with, and then you get an additional 50-mile detour, completely and you have at that point you are completely trusting the little signs that they're actually going to get you back to the trail. I mean, that's kind of I can't say I necessarily surrender in those moments as much as I high anxiety in those moments when something like that happens, or a flat tire happens, and it's to say the least, it creates anxiety, but it's really short-lived anxiety if you've got a spare that fits.
Right.
High anxiety if you find out, I didn't replace the spare.
I thought about that drive, because you see people on the side of the road changing the tire. I'm like, oh Lord, please don't let that be me, because in my car,
the flat's always flat, or the spare's always flat. Well,
no. The spare is good, but in order to get to the spare, you have to go through the inside and undo. Now on the inside, I've got everything piled up like a game of Tetris, man. Like everything, and to take all that out and put it back in, it's such a drag. But anyway, so surrendering to that, and kind of.
There's, I came to a conclusion probably about 20 years ago, 15 years ago in my life, that there are things that I can control and things that I can't.
That's it, man.
And you know what? Lisa, my wife, we were on vacation the first time together, and she says, we're on an adventure. And I'm going like, okay. And something weird would happen. We didn't get a flat tire, but we were running out of gas or something like that. And not run out of gas, but getting really low and going like, where's the next gas station? Do we know, have any idea? And she'd look at me and she'd go, well, it's an adventure. It's supposed to be unique. So we're along for the ride,
There you go. That's great attitude, man.
Yeah, it's all attitude. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I thought you were going to tell us that you can't control, or you could control.
No, you cannot. I mean, there are things you cannot control, and no matter how hard you try.
And even a lot of things you think you can control.
Oh shoot! No, they're not in your control. And so you just roll with the punches, and roll with the tide. That's it. That's all
Very good. Yeah, I rolled with a McDonald's to go order that lasted 35 minutes on our trip.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'll leave it there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Traveling's fourth phase is meeting. Meeting is the invitation to discover oneself and others anew.
Uh-huh.
So you're away, you're out of your zone, out of your home, and so it gives you a chance to sort of meet yourself, get in tune with yourself, but you're also with other people, new people potentially, right? So you're meeting other people in different places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I said earlier, went to the Boston area, and I planned well, first of all, I started planning it when we met for my aunt's, her mother's funeral / memorial service back in the fall, and it was it was a celebration of life, and there was sadness too, and anyway, the Astros and the Red Sox were playing in the ALCS, and so Doug and I were bantering back and forth, but at some point I said, I am coming to I'm coming to see you all probably in May or June. I said, you can count on it, and so I planned on it months ahead, and then I got my plane ticket like 2 months before for coming. And the day I am packing and heading to Houston to catch the plane at 5 the next morning, that's the day Ellen decides to go. And because she's an editor, and she realized, she could stay home, and somewhere in the middle of the week she would go, I could have gone. And I said, so she decided in that moment, which was, I met a new person in that moment, because she's never been like that. Oh, wow. And then we go on the trip. That's and cool. And I know that I'm a different person, and I have different experiences simply because she made the decision to come along with me.
Changes the whole dynamic of a trip.
Yeah. And then of course there is the meeting the person, one of the ushers at Fenway Park, and going, these people are really nice, they're New Englanders, and nice.
Yeah, from Boston.
Boston, and their clam chowder.
Chowder.
All right, we got 2 more. Let's get through it. So, let's see, stage number 5 is caring. Caring involves overcoming privileged irresponsibility. When a traveler does not recognize their own privilege and take responsibility for it, or does not recognize other people's lack of privilege. This is about travel becomes irresponsible when tourists ignore injustices and inequities they witness, or the way their travel contribute to the unfolding climate crisis. That might mean hiring local guides, eating in family-owned restaurants, and being mindful of the resources like food and water that they use. Now, I throw away trash everywhere I go, right? I, pick up after myself. I think that's probably about as far as I've ever really thought about sort of caring about my travel, which is no different than when I'm at home, So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Tom, you were in Russia. Tell me about your, when you were living there, but even being there, you had a cultural acclimation period, did you not?
Yeah. I've traveled quite a bit. I actually my high school, after I graduated high school, before I started college, or should have started college, that summer I went to for 6 weeks on an exchange program in Brazil. And that was one experience. It was a very good experience. So I'd been overseas for an extended period of time, and then we moved to Russia. And let's say 1973 Brazil was ahead of 1995 Russia. I mean, that there was that much of it. Was eye-opening to be in a place where it was an impoverished nation, which is hard for us to believe as Americans, because Russia was the other superpower for so long. But anyway, it took us, well, I'm not going to say us, it took me 3 months to get over the depression of being in Russia before I really began to see the people and to experience the culture. And by the time we were there, mostly I mean, 6 years, and 3.5 years were actually in country. 2.5 years were coming back and having to do some things so we could go back to Russia. And in those 6 years, I moved from depressed to, it was a joy to live among the people, and it does make a difference when you live with the people versus you visit the people.
Right. I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. You begin to see the people. You appreciate their hospitality, their generosity, and you know what it's costing them, say, to invite you to their home to have a meal. So
I think one of the ways I experienced this trip, and I had never seen it before, and we stayed at Pigeon Forge, right? And so at the hotel, there was an envelope on the table, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but essentially, like, if you want to express your appreciation to the cleaning staff, you could leave a tip in there. I thought, well, that's kind of makes sense, because I've been a part of those. I know those staffs. I mean, they don't make a whole lot of money, but they do a whole lot of work. And then you got people coming in and early, like 4 or 5 hours early on their day of arrival when they're supposed to check in, and they want their room, but the room's not ready because, come on now, because somebody's working in there hard trying to get it done. And so I thought about that as a way to, that's a way you care for the people who are there. When we go to Tennessee and Nashville, there's a house we stay at connected to a church ministry that offers discounts for pastors and missionaries, whatever, $40 a night, man, for a full house. The only thing to ask is just clean up when you're gone, right? When you leave. And the temptation is, just write that down real quick, but no. Our family, we vacuum right, and we're going to clean everything right, and everything's going to be better than he found it, right? Right. And for us, that's kind of a way to care for that facility that's not ours, and a place that's not our home. So that takes a little more thought, I think, when you're out and about. So, all right, let's get to the last one. The last stage of transformative travel is returning. You got to come home. Yeah, come home. Travels do end, and returning home can be a disorienting experience. Coming back can cause reverse culture shock if travelers struggle to readjust, but that shock can diminish as travelers share their experience with others, stay connected to the places they visited, deepen their knowledge about the place and culture, anticipate a possible return trip, or get involved in causes that they discovered on their trip. So don't just throw everything in the washer and just go to work the next day. Kind of stop and reflect, and what did you learn, and how did you experience life, and what's different about you now that you've taken this trip? So those are the 6 stages of transformative travel. There's the anticipation, the leaving, the surrendering, the meeting, the caring, the returning. I thought it was helpful because I think in all of that is also a sense of like how you live life too.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If every day is kind of like a kind of trip that you take, right? I know you may be just going to work again, or maybe you're going here again, or going to church again. But if we can sort of see each day as sort of that kind of life with God, as like you said, Brad, like as an adventure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He mentioned somewhere in there, and I want to say it was like in stage 5 or step 5. Something about cultural humility.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that was different than just cultural sensitivity or cultural whatever he uses another word there.
Here it is. Starting. This is in number 4, the meeting.
Oh, number 4. Okay. Yeah.
Starting to overcome these barriers demands an attitude known as cultural humility, which is deeper than cultural competence.
That's right.
Which is simply knowing about a different culture. Cultural humility helps travelers ask questions like, I don't know, please help me understand, or how should I?
I think that's, to me, of all of the 6 stages, when you come home, that's the one thing that I would hope that we would pursue, not just because we were out of town somewhere else, but we need to pursue that at home too.
Sure.
Where you're listening to the other and trying to interpret what's really being said, and being humble about that. It's like, oh, well, you guys are just so simple. No, there's more to it than this.
Exactly.
There's a personhood there that we need to acknowledge, and that humility is I think it's a powerful reminder that we're not, the be all and end all movers and shakers that we think we are. It's just because we're from first world or something, that we are really pilgrims on a pilgrimage, just like everybody else.
We are from Texas, though.
Well, that's different. I mean, yeah, we got to carry that with us. I mean, gee whiz, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom. Yeah.
What I was going to say, I because we had lived in Russia, and then we would come back to the United States, and a lot of folks in the church, in the United Methodist Church, are at least semi wealthy enough, older, retired. They've got some money, and so they travel, and they go to Europe, and then we're speaking about a Russian experience, and afterwards they would go, we were in Holland, and we were trying to, we were queuing up, and the Russians just kept pushing. Why are Russians so pushy? And it was very interesting, from knowing both cultures, is the difference between the United States and Russia is, in the United States, you can queue up because whatever's there is still going to be there for the most part, unless you're going to that barbecue place in Austin.
Yeah, right.
But we're used to, it's going to be there anyway. In Russia, it's like, if you don't push your way to the front, you may not get what you're going to get. And so there was that, and Russians are very generous and gracious, but in a public setting, they seem pushy and they seem aggressive, and all of these things. So, and it's just thinking, having lived in another place, I can genuinely appreciate the cultural differences, and I recognize I love my country. When we came back, and the first time we're walking, and there's an Alaska Airlines on the nose, and it was low enough that I could do that. I reached up and I touched the flag, and I recognized my culture. But on the other hand, I will never, I do not believe this. America is not the greatest country in the world. There is no greatest country in the world. There is a greatest God in the world, but not a greatest country in the world. And that's where cultural humility really needs to step in. So
that's a good word.
There's my soapbox, and
that's a good word. I'm glad you brought that up, Brad. That was an important part of all this. So we need to leave it there for the sake of time, so Tom can go eat. I'm going to be working here at the church. I haven't been here in a month, so I'm not going to eat probably for another 3 days. But you go enjoy yourself, Tom. Please, by all means.
I will see the difference on Sunday, though. Oh, John, you look like you've lost some weight.
There you go. Right.
You've finally been working, man. So, all right. So there you have it. There are the stages of travel, transformative travel. Don't just go, let it mean something, right? And let us talk about your experiences. If you go on a trip, we want to hear about it. We want to know where you went and what you learned and what you saw and all those kinds of things. It's fun. I was telling my kids that it used to be a routine thing. If you go on a trip, you invite your friends to the house and you had the little slides.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
Go through that. I will not do that to my friends and family. I love you more.
That's what Facebook is for.
That's exactly what I was thinking. If you want to follow John and his trip, go to Facebook.
There you go.
This might be another episode. I didn't take a complete sabbatical from social media and
Mhm.
email and everything, but as close as you can get, man, for a month, and it was all right. It was
You
all
did
right.
okay
So
with
anyway, all right. So that's it. You go do your travels. Let us know what you find along the way. What do you think about these? We want to hear from you. We always love getting a chance to get together. We love it so much. That's why we took 5 or 6 weeks off at a time. But we are back.
Hmm.
We are
Yes,
back.
are.
And so we'll be back next week. And who knows what in the world we'll talk about. We'll know right before you know. So thanks for tuning in.
You'll be the second to know.
That morning. Yeah.
About 5 minutes after we know.
But that's part of the journey, y'all.
That is.
It's part of the journey. So
Right.
have a great rest of the week. Go visit the website, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's there. Let us know that you're listening. And God be with you. Thanks, guys.